All right, quick break before we get started here today. I want to tell you about something that keeps coming up with the brands that I talk to. Now, here's the reality. If you're running paid ads right now, your ad platforms are probably only seeing about 40% of your actual conversions. Think about the iOS restrictions, the ad blockers, all these privacy changes that have happened over the last few years. They've all created this massive blind spot in your data. And so you're making these ad decisions based on incomplete information. And I've watched brands kill campaigns, honestly, that were actually working. They've just looked like losers in the dashboard. But I've also seen people pour money into campaigns that look great, but the reality is these are just taking credit for sales that they didn't drive. And so if you're spending $500 a month or even $50,000 a month, to me, that's really expensive guessing. And that's what my sponsor on today's episode actually solves. Their company is called WeTracked, and they're at wetracked.io. It completely fixes this problem. They are the number one highest rated ad tracking solution on Shopify. They have over 7,000 brands that are using this solution to get accurate conversion data back to Meta and back to Google. And technically, it just bypasses all of the tracking restrictions so that these algorithms can start actually learning your store and what's actually working. And the setup takes 5 minutes. There's no coding required. And believe it or not, they actually have real human support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's not a ticketing system. And literally, you can test out their solution right now for 14 days. And you can see the difference, honestly, in your data right away. So you can go to wetracked.io/e-commerce fastlane, or you can just go to the show notes. There's a special link in this episode, and you get a special 10% off for you, our amazing listeners. So, all right, let's jump back into today's conversation. Hey everyone, welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I'm Steve Hutt. Now today it's just me, no guest this week, which honestly I'm excited about, to be honest with you, because there's something that's been on my mind, and I really want to walk and talk through this directly with you. If you've been paying some attention to what's happening in AI right now, and I know many of you have, you've probably felt this too. Like, it seems like the pace of change is almost really hard to articulate. Like, every week there's some new tool or new capability, a new game changer that everybody's kind of shouting about on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I think a lot of founders and marketers, it's kind of creating a little bit of a weird tension. Yeah, you've been, know a lot about AI, and you need to be doing something with it, but you can see other brands, they appear to be pulling ahead using a lot of these systems. But the honest question is, and the one that no one seems to really answer very clearly, is that, like, what should I actually be doing and spending on AI right now, given where my business is today? Because everybody has a different maturity and complexity, their GMV size. And I think that's what I want to dig into today. Like, not a lot of hype, no shiny object syndrome. I'm not going to talk about specific solutions. I just really want to give you some real feedback and some framework for thinking about your AI investment, based on your exact revenue stage. Because here's what I've seen after working with a lot of different Shopify brands over the last few months, was that the brands that are winning right now with AI, they truly are not the ones that are spending the most. Like, what they're doing is they're being intentional about what they're actually investing in and when. I think that's an important part too. So kind of before we dive in, I just want to say thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate for the fact that you're here today. Thank you for pressing play and giving me your time. I don't take that lightly. If you really enjoy this podcast, which I know you do, a lot of people are enjoying it. I'd love you to also maybe go check out my newsletter. I launched it actually last January, and the whole thing about your owned audience, and it's grown to over 40,000 founders and marketers now. I don't want to pitch it too much, but it really is a lot of my greatest writings and thoughts go into that newsletter each week. It launches every Thursday. It really does give you a competitive edge, I believe, in the Shopify ecosystem. I work really hard putting it together. I'm sure you'll dig it. It's at ecommercefastlane.com, so you can go over there and check that out. But let's talk about these are some of the talking points that I've jotted down here in my phone before recording today. And one thing that I've been thinking about are the different types of customers that are listening to this show. Like, these are the merchants, the founders and marketers. I think, and my main comment is that what I'm seeing, and I mentioned at the top of the show, there's some brands that are in the enterprise side. We're talking maybe 5, 10, 50 million, even $100 million plus. They're not just using AI. What they're doing is they've built AI into their operating system, so to speak. And it really is, it's their customer service workflows, or it's their inventory planning, or it's ad creative, or it's merchandising decisions. And I believe the gap is really widening. And not because these brands are spending a lot of money on AI, but it's more because they have started with a clear framework. Like, what problem am I solving? Pretty clear. What data do I need to solve it? And then what's the simplest AI solution to get me there? Those are the three things you need to kind of think about. But meanwhile, when you kind of contrast that to brands that maybe are doing $500K a month, or maybe even $2 million a month, or a year, I mean, it's like, it's interesting where those ones, they've spent years, and I've learned this. They've spent so much time with their business that sometimes they get frozen a bit when they think about the number of options that are out there. And I think there's a lot of mistakes that are being made right now by brands, when they go and think about maybe a solution that they might want for their business, or a problem that they believe they want to solve, and they try to solve a lot of them all at once. And I think that's where, I don't know this word that I use a little bit, but it's this kind of premature complexity trap. And it's really happening now a lot with AI. And, listening to the show for any length of time, that I talk a lot about this. I believe it's the number one pattern that I saw when I was a Shopify merchant success manager. Honestly, there was so many times where brands would start stacking more apps, more channels, more tactics. Every time I'd get on a call every couple of weeks with them. A lot of times I would do an app audit and say, like, why do you have all these things, or why are you trying this? And really, they're just trying to see what sticks. And I'm concerned about that. And I'm seeing the exact same pattern right now play out with AI. I think founders literally are signing up for 7 different AI tools every month. Like, they've got an AI copywriting tool, and they've got, an AI analytics platform, or AI chatbot, or I don't know, ad creative generator. Like, none of these are like really properly configured. None of them are probably integrating with each other. And really, no one really on the team actually knows how to use them all like really well. I think that's the important thing to think about. Like, more AI tools don't necessarily give you an AI advantage. It doesn't create this competitive moat. Like, I think one, really well implemented AI system is that's actually trained on your data, then, and integrated into your workflow, I think will outperform having, like, I don't know, 10 tools. Because I think the utilization of a lot of these tools, we're lucky to use maybe 20 or 30% of their power, but then times 7 to 10 tools you have, you really aren't getting great value out of it. And so that's kind of the main reason why I wanted to chat today, is I really want to kind of set the stage about that, but then think about, well, based on where you're at, like, what is an appropriate kind of AI investment? Is there a framework that generally I can follow? And that's kind of what I want to chat about next. Just based on where your revenue stages are, or your complexity, I'm going to kind of give you some honest numbers of, what brands are doing from what I see at each stage, and what, they should be realistically investing in AI. And no, not what some vendor wants you to buy, but just what actually makes sense based on your current stage. So the first stage, and I know this is really important, these are people that are under 500K in annual revenue. And I think it's really important here. Every dollar matters at this point. You have some product market fit, but we're really trying to continue getting profitability. And the good news is that you already have a lot of AI that's actually already built into your Shopify store. Many of you are using it, but a lot of you are not using it. And things like Shopify Magic, for example, like, you have like AI powered product descriptions built right in, or email subject lines, and even basic content generation, really at no extra cost, is all native. It's built right into the admin. And so you should go out and use that. Now, beyond that, there are some other kind of free tools that are available for sure. Chat GPT, Claude is there, Perplexity is there. They can really handle a surprising amount of content needs. Like literally, think about it: product descriptions. You can do email drafts. You can do, I don't know, social media captions, even some basic kind of customer research. That's so interesting. So for me, what I prioritize for these early stage founders is like, don't buy anything yet. You don't really need to. If you're kind of under this 500K mark, you have what's built into Shopify already right now. And the nice thing is like, learn to use what you already have. Now, it's fine to use maybe some free tools if you get comfortable with prompting. It's these sorts of things you need to kind of really think about. Hone that skill. It's going to save you thousands of dollars before investing in some, more robust and more point tools. Okay, so I want to make sure you understand that first. So now the next tier is for those that are in the 500K annual to maybe up to $1 to $2 million. I think 2 million would be kind of the cap that I would think of. That realistic spend from my perspective is between the $200 and $800 a month. Now, here's what I believe you're getting. And I think this is where you need to be really intentional because this stage is, I think, where this kind of premature complexity really starts to kill some brands. Like I personally would pick one, maybe two areas where you believe AI, can make a measurable impact for your business. Like, so for most brands at this stage, I think, enhanced email and marketing automation, I think makes a lot of sense. Think about tools like Klaviyo, for example. They have AI features that are built right in for, send time optimization. They've got like predictive analytics built into it, subject line testing. This is already pre-baked into it. So if you're already paying for Klaviyo, you might not need another AI tool at all. You could just, I don't know, literally turn on the features that you're already paying for. And so that's one thing to think about. Second area I think is interesting is a basic AI chatbot, like for customer service at the bare minimum, like not a $500 a month enterprise solution, like something simple that handles like simple things like where's my order, what's my tracking number, or I don't know, shipping information, FAQs, things like that. Have the bot give that information directly to the person that's querying it. I think that's the most important thing. So my opinion is those are the greatest things that you probably could get started with. But I'd also argue maybe things you might want to avoid is don't experiment with a few more advanced things. I'll give you a couple examples here. Is that this has come up recently actually is like dynamic pricing, for example, or advanced personalization engines, or even custom models that are trained at this stage. You really don't have enough data right now for these tools to actually work well. And that's the big thing that I think we need to hit home. And I think a lot of these vendors don't really talk a lot about that, about having measurable and a certain amount of data available so they can actually be impactful. And so at this kind of revenue stage, maybe the $500K to $2 million annual range, I think you just need to kind of pick one or two and run with it and understand what data you're giving it and then the ROI that comes out of it. Now, the next stage above that, now these people that are, probably at the $2 to $10 million range, that's the area that I think is interesting. And I think at this revenue level, I think you have enough traffic for sure, and you have enough order data, and you definitely have enough customer data. And I think that's where these AI tools can actually start doing things that maybe humans, can't do, certainly not at the speed or accuracy that you'll get out of an AI tool. And I think when you get a dedicated tool, like let's say for site search or product recommendations, I think AI-powered search that understands intent and not just keywords, I think that can, meaningfully improve your conversion rate. Like we're talking, tools like, I don't know, Klaviyo or I don't know, SearchSpring. And these kind of things kind of go over and above like the kind of core kind of Shopify search, like even inventory forecasting, another great area. I mean, these sort of things start paying for itself quite quickly. Like, so if you're managing more than a few hundred SKUs and, an AI forecasting tool can help you prevent stockouts and overstocks, and these kind of situations like really eat into margin. So I think that's my key takeaway here is that, not all brands, need to be fully fluent on every single solution that's out there. And I don't believe it needs to be like a part of everybody's job. Like this is not a full-time hire. I think the way I look at it is that you need to find and some education around the team members that are using these kind of tools and give them the attentional space. But the bottom line is like, what are we getting? And is there real ROI from the tools that we're actually using? Or are we just paying for subscriptions? I think that's something you really need to think about a lot, is that if you're going to use tools like this at this revenue band, you've really got to be just intentional on the few that you're going to use and make sure that, every month during a certain, a period of time, we talk about and think about the ROI that comes out of that tool. So really important. So the next tier is the $10 to $50 million range. And I think this kind of ad spend at this range is quite meaningful. I threw some numbers out here between the 3 and 15,000 a month. Like there's some really big brands out there that I know of. And at this level, I think AI really stops kind of being like a set of kind of individual tools, and it really starts becoming more of an integrated kind of infrastructure for the business. Like this is, whether you're, looking at like an AI powered kind of customer service stack, not just a chat bot, but maybe a system that handles the majority of the routine inquiries that happen, like intelligently escalating kind of complex issues and things to human agents, or, I mentioned in the previous one, but dynamic pricing tools fits in perfectly here because you have enough transaction volume. And for AI to learn all these patterns, that's the key, right? This predictive analytics, another interesting area that, when you connect your marketing, your inventory, and your customer data all together, this becomes a real competitive advantage. And so, in my opinion, the big shift that's happening, especially at this revenue stage, is that, brands that start thinking about training AI models kind of on their own proprietary data, I think that's really key. Like, your customer service, like, transcripts, your product return patterns, and then maybe seasonal trends. Like all of this data is very unique to you. And then when you feed that into an AI system, that's creating an advantage that competitors cannot copy. So just want to throw that out there. And I think the final tier, and this is for brands that are north of 50 million. These are, definitely on Shopify Plus. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because, I think if you're already at 50 million in annual revenue, you likely have a dedicated team that's really thinking about this. But I think the key message here is that, like at this kind of enterprise scale, AI becomes more infrastructure than just a tool. So, you're looking at like a custom model development. You have a dedicated AI team, likely, maybe even some autonomous systems that are managing pricing and inventory allocation. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Even campaign optimization with human oversight, obviously, but rather than like fully human execution, right? So I think the important thing to understand here, kind of regardless of your stage, these enterprise brands didn't start here. And that's the interesting part. They really started, maybe a year and a bit ago, but they started at tier 1 or tier 2, and then they slowly built this intentionally over time. So before I kind of wrap up for today, like I kind of want to leave you with kind of like one kind of filter that I use, for any AI investment, and even in my own media company, I go through this exact same question, and I know that it will apply to you no matter where you're at 100K annually or 100 million in revenue. The question is, will this AI investment, will it compound over time, or is it just a one-time productivity boost? And I'll tell you, the best AI investments are the ones that get smarter as you feed them more and more data. Like think about the email personalization that I mentioned. It learns after every time you send an email, the open rate, the click-through rate, the conversions that happen because of it, the type of language that's in those emails. Think about this, search, it definitely improves with every query. And that's for sure. Inventory forecasting. It gets more and more accurate every season. And so these investments, they start compounding and they get more and more valuable the longer you use them. And that's your proprietary data. So a tool that, saves you 30 minutes for writing product descriptions. I mean, to me, that's useful. That's Shopify magic, and I think that's great. But I think that's kind of linear, where it doesn't really get better over time. But it's worth paying for, but it's not where strategic AI kind of the budget should really go. You really want to prioritize tools for your business that kind of compound over time. So that's it for today. So I once again thank you for listening into this episode. I love doing these solo episodes. It's actually kind of fun because I get to sketch down a few points here that are on my mind, and but I hope this gives you a clearer picture of kind of realistic kind of AI investments, kind of what it looks like depending on your stage. Because the last thing, honestly, that I really want for you is to feel like you're falling behind because you're not spending, I don't know, $10,000 a month on AI tools, when you're doing 500K in revenue. Like, that's not the game. The game is being, in my opinion, is being intentional, like starting where you are and building systems that get smarter over time. So if you found this valuable, I'd really appreciate if you kind of pass this on, share it with another founder or marketer or anybody kind of that's trying to figure out this whole AI kind of strategy thing. It's a tough market out there, and I understand the anxiety that goes along with it, and this whole analysis paralysis. Like this is a real thing, and so but. That's why I'm here. So much content is being produced now on e-commerce Fastlane, the blog, the actual podcast itself you're listening to now, these solo episodes, and with other founders of marketers, marketing apps, and even a lot of agency partners now are coming on and talking about AI and how they're implementing it. So I think you're going to see a slight pivot in the show because it seems to be that's the hottest topic of what people want. They want to try to create their competitive moat. And I think that's what we're onto something here. So once again, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you. And I'll see you on the next episode of E-commerce Fastlane.